Hi, my name's Kyle Porter. Welcome to the Hi, my name's Kyle Porter. Welcome to the Normal Sports Show. Hi, my name's Kyle Porter. Hi, my name's Kyle Porter, and I have to say one of the things that I'm most fearful of in terms of doing a show like this is the opener. I don't have YouTube energy. I can't run around and jump around and yell and scream. So maybe we'll figure it out along the way. But for now, welcome to the Normal Sports Show, and thank you for being here. One of the first questions I got asked when I parted ways with CBS Sports about a year ago was, when you starting a podcast? When does the show start? When are you going to do video? A bunch of different things like that. And I was mostly dismissive of this at first. I'm a writer. I thought I just want to write. I understood that, mediums like that, shows and podcasts and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all these places was where a lot of, people were meeting creators. That's where people wanted their content pushed and made and they wanted it to land there. And that's where a lot of sponsors, wanted as well. So I knew all that, but I resisted it kind of for three reasons. The first was that I didn't want to do too much too soon. Normal Sports started as a newsletter back in February of 2023, and I wanted it to remain a newsletter, at least for the first year of kind of doing it full time. I didn't want to add, a million things to my plate and have to keep up with Snapchat and have to keep up, all these different things, because I didn't want to burn out. And so I'm glad that I did that. I'm glad that I waited on that and had some patience. And the second reason that I kind of resisted doing a show is that I wanted to be thoughtful about the format of the show, of any show that I did. There's a great quote from the Colin and Samir show, which is one of my favorite shows on YouTube. And they talk about how formats rule the media world. I don't know if that's the direct quote, but it's something like that. And I totally agree with that. If you have a good format to a show, it's really powerful. It can be a very, very powerful thing. And that's something that I put a lot of thought and time and just effort into. And then the third reason was I had to figure out if I even wanted to launch a show at all. There was a world in which Normal Sport would just remain a newsletter for as long as I did it. But there were kind of two things that happened this year that pushed me over the edge. I think it's very easy to just turn on the mics and start talking. It's very difficult to keep people listening for longer than 30 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes. It's a lot more difficult than the people whose shows you watch and podcasts you consume make it seem. Those people are very good at what they do. But there were two things that kind of pushed me over the edge. The first was that Rory won the Masters. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. It was a big thing that happened back in April. But after he won, I remember thinking, I know I've written 10 million words on the newsletter about this event, but I don't really have an outlet to talk about it, to gather people and to talk about it. And I remember thinking that was like the first time that I missed having a podcast to go on, or just being able to turn the mics on and talk about my 10 favorite moments from that Masters, or from the from the last 3 holes. So you could have done anything with that. So that was one thing. The second thing was I had this really interesting kind of email conversation with this guy named CJ Chilvers, who's kind of a media writer, blogger that I follow. He's not in sports media. He's not in golf or anything like that. But we were emailing back and forth about, he's become somebody that I really look to on a lot of this stuff, just how to think about the future. And we're emailing back and forth about how it does seem like people have gone away from reading in the traditional way that they've read, whether that's books or even when I started out back in 2011 with it kind of in this world, people definitely read a lot more. They read a lot more than they do now compared to how much they were listening to podcasts and consuming video back then. That wasn't really a thing. And that has really shifted over time. And I kind of asked him, I said, if people are naturally transitioning away from reading like they have in the past, then what are they transitioning to? And he had such an insightful answer. And the obvious answer is video and audio, right? But the way he framed it was such a jarring, like, coin drop moment for me. He said, I'm going to just read this. He said, they're transitioning to anything closer to what we did for 99.9% of our history, which is telling stories around a fire. And that was like coin drop, this is insane moment for me, because I had always said, hey, I'm going to bet on the medium in writing that's been around for thousands of years. People have read and write forever. And he was like, no, actually, they've told stories around a campfire forever. And I have not stopped thinking about that since he said it. So that was a really important moment, and one that really signaled to me that any serious content business is going to have some campfire stories, right? And the cool thing now is you don't have to actually live where the person telling the stories is. You can gather around, because of the internet and phones and everything that we have at our disposal, you can gather around the digital campfire no matter where you live in the world, which is very cool. So when I've thought about, okay, what is the normal sports show going to be? What is the format of the normal sports show? I knew that I didn't want to cover the day-to-day of golf in the same way that I do with the newsletter. And the reason for that is because there's podcasts and shows that are already doing it better than I think I ever could. Shotgun Start, obviously, the No Ain't Up guys, dozens of other podcasts and shows out there that do a really good job that I don't think I could ever get to on a, like, hey, here's what happened today type basis. Probably for a lot of you, Shotgun Start is like the paradigm for that. And I love listening to those guys, and I knew that I didn't believe that I could create something that was better than that. What I did believe is I could create something that was different than that. And I think that my vision for the normal sports show is something that aims to be a little bit more evergreen than either those shows or my own newsletter. My newsletter is very much a day-to-day, here's what happened, here's this funny thing that I saw. It's not super evergreen. We can turn some of that content into like a longer arc evergreen stuff, but fundamentally it's not really. So I've identified several formats that I want to kind of do this in. And I think at the foundation of it, it's going to be driven by my own curiosity, and it's going to be driven by what questions do I wake up thinking about. It's going to be an exploration of what my interests are within golf and within things that are kind of golf adjacent. So let me give you a couple examples of that. Our first episode is the question, hey, how do you make a good show about golf or about sports or about anything? And I went to 4 different people that have done this historically, and I just asked them, hey, what's the most important thing, or what have you learned from making a good show? And so that was a question that I had in my head that maybe other people are wondering as well. And these people kind of spoke into that. I reacted to that, and that's our first show. So I'm excited about dropping that. The second show is, hey, what are the 5 best, or what are the question in my head is, what are the best Ryder Cup moments of my kind of career? Like, what are the ones that I look back on and remember the most? And so the format for that is me talking to somebody else and saying, hey, you give me your 5 favorite Ryder Cup moments of kind of our careers, and I'll give you my 5 favorite Ryder Cup moments of my career. And so, again, those are different formats. One is a bunch of people, one is just a single person. But again, the origin, like where that starts, is what questions are going on in my head. That's what normal sport is, right? It's what are the questions that I have going on in my head, and how can I explore answering those in a way that's entertaining and maybe enlightening and educating for everybody that's tuning in. So that's what this show is aspiring to be. I don't know if we'll ever get there in a way that's that is kind of what I have in my head, but that is definitely the path that we're going down. So I'm really excited about it. I'm nervous. I'm probably rightly scared of doing this at all. But it's the right next step for this business, for this company, and honestly for my career. There's been a Patrick Cantlay level of deliberation from me on this show. The guys that I work with can tell you that I put it off. And a lot of that was purposeful, but it's time to actually send it. It's time to do it. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how many people are going to listen. Hopefully at least my parents will tune in, although they might not. I don't know. They've got a lot going on. So first episode drops September 10th. We'd love for you to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're actually thinking about this show primarily or firstly as a YouTube show, as a show that you watch. Now, I think probably more people will listen to it than watch it, but the way that we are putting it together is as a show that you watch. So again, we'll put the link, or we'll put the URLs to where you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and all those places. And yeah, I'm super excited about it. I can't do the close either, just like I couldn't do the open. So maybe we'll learn that as well. But thank you again for being here and ready to get it going.